You know what's better than a fat bald man with a god complex? Right, a fat bald man with a god complex who's also obsessed with capitalism. Chapter 303 just dropped, and Jinpachi Ego is back with his unhinged energy cranked up to 11. If you thought this man couldn't get any more deranged, buckle up, because this chapter is basically Ego's guide to hostile corporate takeovers. The chapter opens with Blue Lock TV proudly announcing they've hit 150 million subscribers. That's not a typo, 150 million. For context, that's more subscribers than most countries have, people. It's like if every single person in Japan decided to subscribe twice. The manga doesn't clarify if these are paid subscribers, but looking at this fat bald guy, he's probably charging premium rates while calling it economic restructuring or some bullshit. Speaking of which, the first panel literally has him screaming economic results like he's having some kind of capitalism-induced orgasm. Besides that, there are also additional snippets of the trending segment of Twitter which shows that Isagi and Kaiser are literally the two most trending topics around the world, I guess. Just imagine that in real life, while we're having like a few wars around the world, etc. There are two young football players and some U20 teams that are more relevant than that. We then cut to the Japanese Football Union chairman's office, where the Burger King is shouting about 78 billion something, presumably yen. For reference, 78 billion yen is roughly $500 million. That's either the budget for the Blue Lock program or the amount this fat guy invests annually in McDonald's products to maintain his body. So while this fat guy is talking to himself about the money and the riches he's gonna earn, Ego is coming in because the fat guy wanted to talk to him. The contrast between these two is pretty nice. Ego obviously doesn't give a fuck about money while the Burger King is only talking about it. Even though he was happy that Ego made him tons of money, he was actually quite mad at him. And here's where things get interesting. Ronald McDonald's starts throwing a tantrum about Seishiro Nagi being cut from the team. He's literally slapping a screen showing Nagi's face while screaming, "Why'd you cut him?" like a toddler whose favorite toy was taken away. He's popular, isn't he? Not that I know, he said calmly, but Ego obviously made his choice already. He didn't give the slightest shit about him. But that was the problem for the 400 pounds guy, because Nagi is, like in the real world, really fame and the fans' favorite player. And because the fans, of course, bring in the big cash, it's fatal that he's no longer in the Blue Lock business. Jinpachi Ego calmly responds that it's all over now and it was per the rules. Ego then drops the bombshell, "I'm here to give Japan a World Cup victory." The fat official, showing remarkable restraint, doesn't immediately burst into laughter and instead just says, "Huh?" which is honestly the most reasonable response. Japan has never won a World Cup. The closest they've come is reaching the round of 16. But here's Ego, strolling in like he's got the football equivalent of the nuclear launch codes, declaring he's going to single-handedly change Japan's soccer fortunes. He also says that he's God, like just straight, not like a god or godlike, straight up, "I am God." I think that's why he has his name. We cut to a press conference where a bunch of suits are standing around like they're about to announce a new iPhone instead of a World Cup roster. One of them, the plaid skirt Power Ranger from earlier, proudly declares they selected 35 players out of 300, then trimmed it down to 23. That's right, thinned, like they're talking about overgrown hedges or bad anime filler arcs. Behind her, a banner that screams Blue Lock Japan in a font so dramatic it might as well be its own antagonist. Photographers are going wild like they're witnessing the second coming of Ronaldo. And then comes the money shot, the U20 World Cup. And not only that, Japan will host it as well, which is probably the most unrealistic thing in this manga so far. And this is a series where a guy scored a goal with spatial awareness. This can also only be done in this anime, like there is almost no way that something like that could happen in real life. Or maybe if they would do something like Blue Lock. 64 countries, the highest number ever. Because when you have a football program that literally mentally destroys 95% of its players, the logical step is to invite the whole world to see what's left of them. We then get a global montage of the best countries in football like France, led by Loki, Germany with Kaiser, and then England, Spain, Italy, Brazil, basically all the places Japan has no chance against in real life, and for some reason also Egypt, like no offense, but why the fuck is Egypt there? Was that a mistake? Or will there be an actual player with Messi and Ronaldo-like skills? We will see. But wait, there's more. New Generation World 11, because of course there's a mysterious elite squad with shadowy silhouettes. It's not an anime unless there's an overpowered secret team that gets revealed just before the big tournament. Back to Plaid Girl, who dramatically declares, "Our sights are set on one thing, total victory." Sure, just like my sights are set on owning a yacht made of gold and dating some god-made model. Meanwhile, the fat Burger King guy stares at Ego like just announced he's abolishing all merchandise sales and tells him that he's actually God. Like, what is going on? Why does every one of them wants to be God? So the big guy basically tells Ego his place, but he doesn't give a shit. Even though he got ordered, he still won't bring Nagi back into the team. Just like that, no emotion, no hesitation, just cold, the ultimate I don't give a shit move. He also told him that if he really has to bring him back, he would quit his job job because he carefully selected these 23 players, and if there is only one miscalculation, he's going to the Maldives. Press conference continues while this man is dying inside. Reporters are already hyping possible matchups like it's a WrestleMania card. Loki versus Rin, Kaiser versus Asagi, Lorenzo versus literally anyone. At this point, they could announce Saitama is joining and nobody would bat an eye. Plaid Girl wraps it up with the usual motivational bullshit. The U20 World Cup has been the little brother of the real one. Yeah, and this arc is about to give it emotional trauma for life. Thanks to Neo Egoist League and BLTV, this generation is now main event material. And she ends it with a smile that says, "We're totally screwed, but at least it'll look cool on TV." She then just keeps on talking and makes typical sales talk like, yes, yes, main event, yes, yes, better than the real World Cup, believe me, boys. And meanwhile says that the journalists should just look at the faces of these young players who are glowing with enthusiasm, especially Sendo, who is whistling something up his nose. Things are now getting serious between Ego and the Fat One as the Fat One goes into close combat range. He says if Ego can't win the U20 World Cup, then he's just a phony. Of course, Ego doesn't take this lying down and tells him clearly that he will make it easy, but only if the team stays exactly as he has chosen. Japan should then become the center of football and, of course, bring in the big money. If we now take a serious look at this matter, the players from Blue Lock are almost already at top class level. At least all 23 players could be 100% in a top league in the first division, or maybe I'm just smoking some deep shit, but that's my opinion. Afterwards, we of course see the pep talk from our Isagi Yoichi, who of course has to tell everyone again that he is the fiercest and will win the World Cup. Classic. And at the end, we probably see the saddest page, namely Nagi playing Street Fight, or rather Starfighter G, on an arcade video game all by himself. We see how dead and lifeless his eyes look, as if he has lost his will to live. Since Nagi has been my favorite character since day one, this of course breaks me a lot. I really hope, especially now because of the fat guy's talk, that maybe there's still a chance that he'll be there. Imagine Sendo or Nanase breaks his leg just before the start and someone has to step in. Then that can only be a sign for Nagi. I'm sure that's what will happen. Don't forget to subscribe, my friends, and until the next video, take care of yourselves.